Okay, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister, how are you?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, sis. Alhamdulillah, I am well.
Alhamdulillah. Sister, could you introduce yourself for us? Tell us a little bit about what you do, where you live, inshallah.
Okay, so my name is Ifolami Jones, and I am a transformational life coach. I focus on creating programs online and helping women to love themselves better and show up on a much better level in their relationships, from finding that self love within. And I live in Jamaica in a small community called Riversdale. I'm actually the only Muslim here and the only Niqabi as well.
Subhanallah. Right, so that's very interesting.
Yes.
MashaAllah. Okay, alhamdulillah. So, can you just explain like your background, your religious background? Were you born into Islam? Are you a revert? And what's your journey to like hijab and niqab?
Okay, so I grew up as a Rastafarian.
Okay.
My parents were originally Rastafarian. That's why my name is the way it is as well. My name is from a Yoruban queen called Folami, and my dad, being a Rastafarian, added the I to it. So I was originally raised in that culture with the drums and the dreads and
Subhanallah.
yes, alhamdulillah. So, but there was never any structure really. Rastafarianism is kind of free and it's not really structured the way that Islam is. So I always had this longing to know what the purpose of my life is and why I was created and why all these things around us are created and what is it all for. And so I was always searching. When I was in high school, I read the Bible over and over, back to front. I read it so many times.
Okay.
Yeah, I was really also very intimate with the Psalms as a child because the book of Psalms was used by my family a lot. And I did a lot of research in high school. Apart from reading the Bible over and over, I was always searching, studying Buddhism, Hinduism, all the different religions. But surprisingly, I never studied about Islam. And I had that media version of it in my mind. So I was actually
Mm,
home one day, yeah, when I was like 18 years old. Um, that by then I was Christian because I baptized when I was 15 years old, but I wasn't practicing anything. I got confused in church and I just left.
okay.
Studying with a Jehovah's Witness, and then that didn't quite click either, so I left that. And then after I had my daughter, I was at home, and there was this man who came to visit my mom, and he was dressed. In my mind, when I saw him, I thought, you're dressed like a prophet. You're dressed like the way that Jesus is described in the
Subhanallah.
Bible. And I was like, why are you dressed like this? And subhanallah, he smiled. And every time I see him, even now, he reminds me of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way he smiles. He smiled and he basically told me, well, this is the way the prophets used to dress. And so I asked him about Islam, and he was explaining, and he explained how the Quran was preserved, and that fascinated me. And so I wanted to know more. I had this thirst, this longing to know, to understand it. And so he invited me to a lecture at the masjid, and I went by and I went by again, and then he left because he's not from this area. And every time they would come by and have these lectures, I would go and listen. And I just had this longing inside me. It was kind of a haunting feeling, really, to know more and to understand what it is. And it just really connected with my logic and everything that I've always believed to be true. And so I accepted Islam, and I have been Muslim ever since.
Subhanallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So how long have you been Muslim then?
I have been Muslim. That was when my daughter was just born, and she's 6 years old now.
How long?
6 years.
6 years.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
And so basically, after becoming Muslim, like, what made you want to wear the niqab?
Okay, so when I just accepted Islam, it was difficult at first to wear the hijab because being in Jamaica, it's not really that type of country where you see a lot of Muslims, especially where I live. And I was afraid to put it on because, you know, you're young and it's foreign and you're wondering what people are going to say and how people are going to look at you. And but I was very brave. I started wearing it, and my family objected, you know, all of that. But then the niqab, it was kind of the way that I found Islam. It was a haunting feeling to know more about it, and it just felt like it was for me. I connected with it, and uh, in the beginning, I also felt like that was how I was supposed to dress. Like I was supposed to cover my face, and then I wanted to do it because I wanted to take that extra step to please Allah, to have that reward with Allah, inshallah. So
Alhamdulillah.
yeah, that was my reason for wanting to do it in the first place.
Mashallah. So did you find it easy to do it? You know, especially living in Jamaica, as you said, there's not many, you don't see many Muslims even. So how did you find that transition?
It was not a very easy decision to make. It was I knew my family wouldn't be pleased with it, but it was just like I need to do this. I need to do it, and I know that people are gonna object to it, but it's like I have to do it. That's how I
Mm.
felt inside. Like I had this longing to do this for myself, but then I was also afraid, and so I decided to just go ahead and do it. And when I did it the first time, it was in 2015 when I gave birth to my now oldest son. And when I did it, there was a lot of rejection around me, a lot of objection from family, from surprisingly, the biggest objection I faced was from the Muslim community. And
Really?
yes, yes. And I remember going to Eid ul Adha, and it was my first time going to that Eid. And I felt really out of place. I was really uncomfortable the whole time. I just felt so small, so out of place, so odd because everyone was looking at me, and then people would ask, you know, and these were Muslims, and it was very hard. And I came home that day, I really cried, and I took it off. I didn't, I didn't bother wearing it after that because I didn't know how to deal with all of that. But as I healed, and as I transformed in years to come, I started wearing it again last year in February 2019.
Alhamdulillah.
And yes, Alhamdulillah, I've kept it on since.
Mashallah. So did you have have you faced any abuse for wearing it? Like, you know, since you've started wearing it again or even beginning, like
No, since I've started wearing it this time, Alhamdulillah, surprisingly, I realized that a lot of it was to do with my mindset. The
mm,
fact that I wasn't confident about myself, you know, with everything, even what wasn't there, I think I saw and allowed that to enter my being and to affect me. But now I wear it even to the police station. I wear it everywhere, and I don't have any. I have more dawa, as a matter of fact, wearing the niqab than I did before. And I really don't see any difference with it than wearing hijab in Jamaica. It's really no greater effect than the niqab, um, than the hijab. Sorry, it's I wear it everywhere. I've never faced any type of physical abuse from wearing it. I've only, you know, one and two persons might say ISIS, or they might say, what's the other word? Taliban.
okay.
I've heard persons say that to me walking on the streets, but only persons who are completely not aware of you know, our religion at all. But I've had a lot of questions. I've had persons accept Qurans from me since I've started wearing it. I've had persons
Alhamdulillah.
come up to me and ask me a lot of questions, and I don't have any strange looks, especially from non-Muslims. Surprisingly, I'm more accepted in the non-Muslim community than I am by Muslims here. Yeah, so Alhamdulillah, I've never faced any type of physical abuse or anything. I've been shown great respect and great care, and even I've been treated really well, especially by non-Muslims since I've been wearing the niqab.
Alhamdulillah. Great.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Mashallah. It's really interesting. Alhamdulillah. So obviously, like Jamaica's a hot country, yeah. You're living in an island. How do you find it physically? From the individual aspect, it must be challenging at times in different, like the hot weather and things like that, and when it's wet or something. How do you find it?
I actually find it more. I find it really comforting to wear the niqab and the hijab actually as a Muslim woman living here. I can't say for everyone because I know everyone is different. I have a friend who she's more hot than I tend to be, but I find it that the air can circulate through my clothing and I feel a lot more cool than persons walking with their body exposed to the
Mm,
sunlight. So I actually find it quite comforting and protective, I should say, wearing it in this climate.
alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
So you mentioned your family wasn't very pleased for you to take the decision to wear it. Has there been, like, have they come around to it now? Have they gotten used to it?
Yes, Alhamdulillah. It did take a few years, but Alhamdulillah. The first time I put it on, there was more objection from my family than there is the second time because by then I had already established myself as a Muslim. I'm not being budged or being turned back by anything at all. And by then they had already accepted the idea of my religiosity and my dedication to my deen. So when I put on the niqab, it was just another layer, it was just another step upward. And so they respected that, especially
Alhamdulillah.
my dad. Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. So you mentioned before that you were a transformational life coach. So how does that work? And does that involve you doing a lot of work outside, or are you mainly working from home?
Okay, I'm mainly working from home currently, but inshallah in future I do plan to do more workshops and outside stuff. But for now, yes, I work from home.
Okay, alhamdulillah. And what about traveling abroad? Have you done any traveling out of the country, and how have you found that as an Niqabi?
Not yet. I haven't traveled as yet. I am yet to do that, inshallah. So I am also curious about what that experience will entail, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. So you mentioned obviously that since you've been wearing the niqab, you found that you've been able to give a lot more dawah to people because you're
Yes.
wearing it. So would you, if somebody said to you, oh, do you, that the niqab is a barrier, how would you interpret that, and what does that mean, like from your perspective? Do you think it's a barrier, and if so, in which sense?
No, I don't believe it is a barrier because I've had persons say that to me that, for example, a sheikh here, he said to me that because we don't live in a Muslim country, that wearing the niqab is not a good idea. But I look at it as if we should practice our Islam based on the country that we live in, then we won't practice at all. Because wearing the niqab here is just like wearing the hijab here. I don't see the difference because
Of
we do live
course,
in a Muslim country and we wear hijab and we pray 5 times per day and we do all these things. And it's not necessarily accepted by the country at large and the people around us, but we we don't have an obligation to live to please those people. We are living to please Allah, and if we live to please Allah and we can wear the hijab and we can raise awareness about Islam wearing the hijab, then why can't we do the same wearing the niqab?
mashallah, yeah, subhanallah. It really is about mindset, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, subhanallah.
Yes, alhamdulillah, it is. It is. I went to a town the other day, and a Christian lady actually, she complimented me based on the way I was dressed. I was fully dressed in niqab and everything, and she was just like, wow, I love the way that you dressed. I didn't even know she was Christian until afterward. We spoke a bit, and then she just came up to me. She complimented me. She was talking to me so nicely, and then afterward, I heard her. She was singing a Christian song, and she was talking to her church sister, and I realized that she was coming from church. And this is the approach of non-Muslims here. It is us as Muslims who have this idea in our minds that we will not be accepted. I think that's what it is.
Subhanallah, subhanallah. So I want to talk about some more general things.
Yes, inshallah.
Because yeah, as I said, we want to know how is it like for how is it for Muslims living in Jamaica? So
Right.
what do you eat?
Oh, well, I eat normal food. I I eat halal meat. There is halal meat available here. There is natural stuff, aki, breadfruit. I eat a lot of natural stuff because I live in the country. So
Mm-hmm.
like in my backyard, I have breadfruit. I have akis on my tree in the backyard. I have coconuts. I have bananas.
Mashallah, tabarakallah.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
So is the meat that you get there, obviously halal meat and stuff, but like is it organic as well?
Mostly, but not all the time. You have most of the chicken that is grown here actually is grown in coops that they feed mainly feed and that they buy from the big feeding places, and they sell like the hormone
Right.
type, yeah. So that's mainly what is available. But you have persons who, like my mom, has chickens running around in her yard, the organic chickens. So a lot of persons have that here, as well as people have like coops that they raise chickens in, and they feed them the feeding from the hardware.
Alhamdulillah. So it's like you said, you live outside of Kingston. You're
Yes.
living. You don't. So you're not living right in the city. But do you go into Kingston like regularly, or and like what is it like when you go in there? And are there any other Muslims in that community? What's your local Muslim community like?
Okay, so my local Muslim community is very small. Apart from my husband, there are about five other brothers in our
MashaAllah.
yes, and then there is me and four kids.
SubhanAllah. Wow.
So yes, our Muslim community here where I live, it's very small, very tight knit, very warm, very welcoming. Um, in the larger community, like Spanish Town is the second largest town closest to me, and that's where you find a lot of Muslims are in Spanish Town.
Oh, okay.
Kingston is further than that, and Portmore is also further than that. Those are two other towns, and those have a lot of Muslims as well. You don't tend to get as much attention going into those places as you do here in the country because people are more exposed. People are seeing Muslims all the time in Spanish Town and Kingston and Portmore, so they're used to it in those areas mainly. Here, where I am in the country, they've gotten used to me now.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've been around a while and I move around quite a bit. So, but before, initially, people would see me, they would look, but no one would be like, because people are more aware now. We also have Islamic Awareness Week here in Jamaica every year. The Islamic Council of Jamaica, they put on different lectures and stuff in different areas to raise Islamic awareness in Jamaica. So there's a lot going on here regarding Islamic awareness and like World Hijab Day and stuff like that.
So, have you the area that you're living in now? Did you grow up there, or have you moved there recently? How long have you been living there?
I'm I was born here and I grew up
Okay.
here. Yeah, I've moved away more than once, but I've always moved back.
Okay. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, yeah.
MashaAllah. So, what about things like I don't know, like jobs or something like that? Like,
Okay, so there are a lot of Muslim women who are in the working field out here, but they are the Muslim women who wear like hijab. I don't know any working niqabis who work outside of their home. That's I think that's the next step. That's something that I also want to change here because even in Muslim-owned companies, they don't want to hire niqabis.
right.
Yes,
SubhanAllah.
yes. It's yeah, which I think is a problem.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that that's the next step that we need to take here, where Muslims need to accept or own and to be open to allowing each other to practice or the I mean, if a sister doesn't want to wear the niqab, that's fine. And if a sister wants to wear the niqab, that should also be fine. So yes, in Muslim owned businesses you would think that you'd be able to get a job as a niqabi, as a hijabi, yes, but not as a niqabi.
Oh, so yeah, well, I don't need to ask you if you think that hijabis get treated differently from niqabis, because it's clear that they do.
Yes. Yes.
SubhanAllah. So have you met anybody then? Any sisters? Like obviously you said that you've faced quite a bit of stigma from the Muslim community themselves about wearing the niqab. So what about sisters who maybe they've wanted to wear the niqab but they can't basically, or they're afraid to? Have you met any sisters like that?
Yes, I have. I know one particular sister right now who is she is in between, like putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off. So she'll wear it to certain places, but she'll be not wanting to wear it to other places because of the objection, and also because she wants to work. She wants to contribute financially to her family, and she wants to be able to be employed. And with the niqab, it's a lot. It's not the best way to get employed. It's not putting on the niqab. So she has been in between, trying to wear it and trying to keep it on, but she's not supported by her family in doing so. And I think that's the biggest hardest part for her,
Mm,
because not being supported, even especially by the Muslims, that's a problem. So she started her own business recently, so inshallah I think she'll be keeping it on this time.
inshallah.
Yeah, may
Allah
Allah
make it
bless
easy
her
for her.
business. I mean,
SubhanAllah. So you mentioned, sister, that you are married. So your husband is Muslim, and is he also a revert, or did you marry him from, like, is he like from a different place? Is he Jamaican as well?
he's Jamaican as well. He's from a different town, but we met in school actually before I even accepted Islam. We actually had our first daughter before none of us accepted it,
Okay.
and he came to Islam the same time as I did.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, so we both accepted Islam together and got married.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. So since you've been Muslim, have you, like, is it common that people are accepting more Islam in Jamaica now? And do you know many reverts, even if they're not living in your local community?
Okay, so what I think the problem here is we've had persons who have accepted Islam, but we do not have a system of teaching and welcoming the new reverts and enabling them to continue practicing. So you've had persons even in our community here where they have accepted Islam, but then there's a rejection that's going to come from your family and whatnot. And then if
Mm,
you're not receiving the necessary support and education from the Muslim community, then you kind of just fall back into your old ways. So I've seen that pattern here. So that needs to change. But we've had a lot of reverts. We've had a lot of persons who have become a lot more aware of Islam. And even though they have not reverted yet, they are, visiting the masjid and asking questions and stuff like that.
MashaAllah. So you're not, obviously I live in the UK, so here we've got a lot of Muslims from, like, Arab countries, and Pakistan, India.
Mhm.
It's common that you have a lot of born Muslims around, basically. So I take it in Jamaica you don't have many of those.
There are, but not as frequent and not in that magnitude.
Yeah.
But there are Muslims who have migrated here from Guyana, from Trinidad, from Saudi Arabia, and other places. Yes,
Okay. All right. Okay.
even from
MashaAllah.
UK as well.
Yeah.
Yes, there is one sister I know. She's a Niqabi and she lives in Portmore with her husband, and she's from the UK.
She's from where? Sorry.
She's from the UK.
All right, okay, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So generally, the people like Muslims who come to live in Jamaica, like emigrate to Jamaica, what kind of work do they do? Like, I'm being nosy, really, but what kind of what kind of things do they, come for? Like generally, because obviously in the UK, people travel to different countries or emigrate for different reasons, different types of jobs and stuff. So, what
Yeah.
kind of opportunities are there for Muslims potentially, like to move to Jamaica, for example?
In terms of the Muslim community, I would say in terms of teaching and learning, I think that would be the biggest opportunity here because there needs to be a lot more like Islamic schools and Islamic education programs and stuff like that here. But in terms of like regular people normally just visit because we have the sunshine and the beaches and stuff like that. So people always visit Jamaica for those things. But in terms of the Muslim community and job opportunities, I would say education.
Okay, mashallah. So there's obviously a lot of space and room for the dawah to grow there, and
Yes,
support
there
for
is.
new Muslims would be a big thing as well.
Yes, there is. There is room for all of that here. A lot of room. It
SubhanAllah.
really needs to improve, but what I think is that because most of the persons who go away and study Islam and they don't tend to come back.
Okay.
So we have persons here who there are limited persons here who have the knowledge that it necessitates to teach and to do certain things and to give dawah and to do all these things. So there is a gap for more of that here, so that the persons who are already Muslims can be able to give that back not only to the Muslim community but to new reverts, and to have that system in place where when someone reverts they have clothes that they're gonna get, they have not that we don't have like books and stuff, but you need someone to be able to teach you how to pray and to
Yes, of
give you,
course.
yes, inshallah. So we need
So
that
where would
here.
you say, like even for like clothes and things like that, where do you get your niqabs and like hijab, abayas? Where do you get these things?
Okay, so like my hijabs I got from other sisters when I accepted Islam. In terms of niqab, I had to buy those when I decided that I wanted to wear niqab. I had to buy those. I couldn't get them to buy locally. I had to actually order them from two different sisters on Instagram. I actually only have two niqabs.
Ah, subhanallah.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So I ordered one from London, and I ordered one from my jilbab. Yeah, so I ordered two niqabs online 2 different times. So inshallah, I'll be ordering more.
Inshallah. So the fabric of the niqab that you bought, I'm going in now, but the fabrics, like how did you find the fabrics? Because I remember like when I first started to wear niqab, I bought one. I think either I'd bought one or somebody gave it to me. I can't remember, but the first time I wore it, the fabric was terrible. I wore that thing, and subhanAllah, I wore it for maybe just 3 hours. I thought I was gonna die. I couldn't even breathe. Like, because seriously, like you get some fabrics, it's like you breathe and the
Yes,
fabric is going into your nostrils.
I know what you mean.
SubhanAllah.
So the first I actually made one or two, I think, with my for myself. Like I sat and I sewed them. I cut up two old hijabs and I sewed those. But I
Right.
couldn't breathe in them. Also, the first time when I was wearing niqab back in 2015, I used to use like the hijab I was wearing. I used to make the niqab across my face and then wrap it around, and it was unbearable. I couldn't breathe. But these that I have bought are amazing. The fabric is very soft against your skin on your face, and it's very breathable. It's amazing.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, alhamdulillah. It's practical as well because I can just if I'm in like inside the masjid and I want to throw it up and just eat something or whatever, it's very easy to to move around. It's very practical and easy to wear, especially with the children. Because
Alhamdulillah.
when you wrap the hijab around your face and then wrap it as a niqab and you have the kids and the babies on your shoulder and they're pulling it off your face.
Yeah.
So these These that I have bought have made my life of wearing niqab a lot easier, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. So what about like going back to Islamic education, your children, like are you teaching them personally? Because you said there's only like 5 other Muslims in the community that you live.
Yes, I'm teaching them personally. So yes, I was sending them to an Islamic school, but it's all the way in Spanish Town, which is far away from where I am.
Yes.
It's the first Islamic school of its kind here,
Oh,
and
mashallah. So how far is
yes,
Spanish Town from you? How, like driving?
I would say about I don't really know kilometers very well, but Bogwalk is about 7 miles from me, and then Spanish Town is about maybe about 10 more miles from there. So it's quite a
10
distance.
miles. So how long does it take you to drive there?
From here, if I'm driving out now to go to Spanish Town, it would maybe take me about 40 minutes to get there.
40 minutes.
Yeah,
Subhanallah.
yeah.
Hmm.
30 to 40 minutes, I would say. Not very good at that stuff. But yeah, it's not that long, but it's not close.
Yeah.
It's not close to me. So it's quite a distance, but that's where I was sending my children because I wanted them to have that Islamic schooling. But it was very difficult to keep up with because we don't have a car, me and my husband, and stuff like that. So it was very difficult to keep up with having someone that we can rely on to take our kids and to take them back home and all of that.
Yes, of course.
But in that school, it's a primary based education school, and they also teach Quran and they have Arabic and Islamic classes there, apart from the regular education curriculum. So it's quite interesting.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. It's the first Islamic school of its kind, and just last year they opened the high school section of it. So it's very small, but it's thriving, and they are really working hard to keep it afloat and to keep it going because we need it here.
MashaAllah. Well, it sounds like a good potential, a lot of potential for a place like
Yes,
that.
yes, Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
So
So,
now sorry, so
yeah,
now
so
I
carry on.
teach my yeah, I teach my children now myself in terms of Islamic education. I give that to them, but just last week I enrolled them in schools that are closer to us, but they're not Islamic schools. They are Christian based schools, so I have to give them the Islamic education myself.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. Allah make it easy for you, sister. Really, there's a lot of challenges, but mashallah, you're really working hard.
Yes, Alhamdulillah.
So that means I'm assuming then that the online resources are quite important for you.
Yes, yes, they are. Before I was homeschooling, so I also used to like follow on YouTube like this Muslim homeschool channel. And I followed their Islamic curriculum, and I use a lot of online tools um, with the children because before, as I said, I was homeschooling, and then I sent them out to school. Then I had to stop, and then they were home, and then I was homeschooling again. So I had to use a lot of references online. And now, just recently, just 1 week now, they're back in school, but not Islamic school. So
Mm,
I still have to be very vigilant with what is being taught to them.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, it's very interesting. SubhanAllah. It's like
Yeah.
you're like a one in a million kind of thing. You know that, right?
Actually, I never really thought about it, but now that we're going through it, I kind of realized that
Yeah. SubhanAllah.
I never really saw myself as like, 1 in a million.
Definitely you are, because SubhanAllah, like you're as I said, if your Muslim community is literally just 7 people, you're
Yeah.
SubhanAllah, and plus you're the only Niqabi as well. Yeah.
Yes.
SubhanAllah, this is like pretty mind blowing. I remember once listening to brother Abdurrahim Green, and he was saying that he went to a country in South America and into a very rural area,
Hmm.
and basically he found some Muslims, like a bunch of Muslims. Basically, they'd become Muslim by reading the encyclopedia. And
Wow.
that's what you remind me of, even though you didn't become from reading the encyclopedia, but that nobody had given them any type
Yes.
of dawah, so they was just
Yes.
reading the encyclopedia, and through that they became Muslim. So they was even reciting their prayers in Spanish, they was doing the adhan in Spanish, because they didn't have any access to anything in Arabic. They was doing
Yes.
everything in Spanish language, you know. So they just like that they became Muslims by themselves, subhanallah. So like it's that kind of, it's your story for me is like kind of like on that kind of, you know.
Yes, Alhamdulillah. I'm actually, I've always looked back and said, Alhamdulillah, because when I look at my journey and how I could be out there, I could be doing anything else. And Allah guided me as a small girl here in a small rural community in Riversdale. It's really fascinating to me as well. And the funny thing is, where the masjid is built now in our community, I was born on a plot right next to that plot.
Subhanallah.
Like I can stand at the masjid and look right where my mom used to live, and my dad at that time when I was born, and she would
Wow.
meet in the house in the night, right where the masjid would be erected years later. So it's quite interesting.
Subhanallah. Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah, sister. So I'm gonna ask you your final question. What does Islam, what does, what not what does Islam mean for you, but what does the niqab mean for you, as a revert, and what advice would you give to any sisters who are thinking about wearing it?
So the niqab for me means liberation. It is a step closer to Allah, and also a liberation and an upliftment, and like freeing yourself from society and their ideas and what they believe to be what their ideas are. I find it to be very, very uplifting. I find it to be that that thing that just it brought me closer to Allah, but it also brought me closer to myself, because I'm not living and wearing it to please anyone, because I know that persons, they may object to it or they may have their own ideas about it, but I don't have that need to please anyone around me in that way, to say I'm gonna not wear my niqab because they don't like it, or because, but it has been one of the most uplifting and freeing experiences for me putting it on, and which has brought me closer to Allah and also to myself as an individual. I would advise sisters wearing the niqab or who are aspiring to wear it to do so for the sake of Allah, and to be steadfast and to be hopeful and to be faithful, and not to watch the people around them and what they think, but to look within at what you believe and what Allah says about you, and how you will be rewarded by Allah for making the steps that you did in your life.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair, sister. Thank you so much for giving us your time
Wa iyaki.
and sharing your very beautiful and very interesting and very unique story with us. Mashallah, your journey. And may Allah make it easy for you to continue. And really, everybody, like, if you want to go to someplace hot to live, Jamaica sounds really nice.
Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah. What's
Alhamdulillah.
your area called that you live?
It's called Riversdale.
Riversdale.
Yes.
Mashallah, such a pretty name. Wow.
Yes.
Riversdale.
Alhamdulillah. I'm
Mashallah.
really honored to be here, sis. I'm really honored that you invited me onto this interview to just,
Alhamdulillah. No, really, I appreciate it, because it's quite a struggle to get sisters to agree to do interviews.
oh
Um,
wow,
for
really?
I don't know, variety of reasons. Some sisters, they're too busy, or like they'll say that they're going to do it, then they don't get back to me. So I really appreciate you taking the time. It means a lot.
Jazakallahu khairan for providing this medium by which I could share my story, and inshallah with it inspire someone else struggling to, or wanting to wear the niqab, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair, sister.
وإياك sis.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.